guys, welcome to week 8 of Latest with Lily, my show where I talk about all things sports, but with an emphasis on football and baseball, and of course, the little bit of hockey that I like to sneak into. So I start off by talking a little bit, and then I bring on my very special guest, talk a little bit more, and then it's time for everyone's favorite segment, Last Minute with Lily, where I share as many fun sports tidbits of the week as I can in just 60 seconds. This week's show is actually very special for a number of reasons. Instead of just one guest like you usually get, I'm giving you two very special guests on this week's episode of Latest with Lily. And instead of being at our own houses to record the show, we are together in our shared house, which is Hunter College High School, before our varsity basketball home opener. So this is very, very exciting. Sorry about the delayed start, but we were having some technical difficulties. If you know Hunter, you know the Wi-Fi is never great, never reliable, but we are back. Okay, so enough talking. Let's just get right into the sports stuff. All right, before I bring on my very lovely guests, I want to talk a little bit about the Pittsburgh Steelers. As per usual, I love the Steelers. I could talk about them forever, but I'll keep it brief. I want to talk about the Monday Night Football game against the Colts. So this was one of rookie quarterback Kenny Pickett's first big tests under the bright lights of primetime game. Although Pickett did not throw for any touchdowns, unfortunately, and, he didn't make any costly errors, and that's all I expect from a rookie quarterback. That's more than enough. You don't need to necessarily help your team so much. It's more about not hurting it. That's my philosophy when it comes to rookies. We won the game 24-17, which is nothing crazy, but for this year's Steelers, that is a quality win that I think we as fans should be very proud of. The run game was definitely, in my opinion, the biggest story from this week. Najee Harris left the game right before halftime with an abdominal injury, but that didn't stop backup running backs Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland from putting on a great performance. The team, including some very nice runs from Kenny Pickett, combined for a total of 172 yards against a pretty decent Colts defense, which is a good sign that maybe, just maybe, in the next few years, we can return to being the run game juggernaut that the Steelers once were. So, I know I said last week that I had officially given up on the Steelers season, but of course, the Steelers had to go and get my hopes up again, classic Mike Tomlin. So, I do still have faith that Mike Tomlin will find a way to sneak us into that 7-seed playoff spot, but we will see. Okay, enough Steelers talk, although is it really ever enough? I don't think so. It's time to bring on our special guest. That's guests with an S because there's two of them this time. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Zach and Rahul. Woo! Hey guys, how are you doing?
Hi. We're sitting backstage right now. We're astonished. There's no way you think that the Steelers are going to sneak into the 7th seed, but it's all right. We're happy to be here.
We're really honored to be here. I think this is a great stage for us to share our opinions on with the world.
And I'm going to do my best not to get really, really angry at Zachary.
Yes, I'll do the same for him. But I think that we'll start the show by getting really, really angry at you for what you just said about the Steelers because it was ridiculous.
That's not happening.
Your team is awful. Really.
And I wouldn't even Kenny Pickett for another year.
Najee Harris has just not shown what he showed in his rookie season. He looks terrible. He looks like he's playing with a lead foot. Now he's got an oblique injury, missed practice on Wednesday, even though this kid just traded for him. But
I'm decently high on Najee, so I'm not gonna go to that. But I think that the Steelers, I think that the Steelers season is done. I think that you know that as well. I think that there's just a little bit of bias playing in. So
I think
we'll leave you alone for now.
I mean, come on. I'm the classic, delusional Steelers fan. I have hope until the very end. We haven't had a losing season in, 14 or 15 years, so this is not going to be the year. Trust me.
I'm a delusional Knicks fan, too, but, last year I wasn't we're going to sneak into the playoffs.
She's right, though. Last season they did sneak into the playoffs, and they shouldn't have made it, and they showed it immediately. But
they just don't have any stars this year at all.
What?
George Pickens is good. I really like him.
Phenomenal. He's more than good. He's phenomenal. George Pickens is a beast.
Phenomenal is in his stretch. He could be.
Rookie wide receiver. He's phenomenal.
In the future, maybe, but not right
Phenomenal is Tyreek Hill. Phenomenal is Jay Jettis. Phenomenal is not George Pickens.
Speaking of Tyreek Hill, I know he's on the Dolphins this year, but how and why are you a Chiefs fan? Is this some bandwagon situation or what?
Oh.
I'm not even
dropping bombs.
I was a Chiefs fan when Alex Smith threw no touchdowns to a receiver, and we went 9-7. We made the playoffs that year, but the year before we were 7-9. Jamal Charles led the league in receiving and rushing. there's just no way you can call me a bandwagon. Alex Smith is the most game managing system quarterback in the league, the least fun player to watch, and he's still my idol, by the way.
I was really destroying him when his leg was like almost murdered multiple
He played
times.
for Washington. That was when he played for Washington.
No, but I don't think you. Okay, you're not answering my question though. Why are you a Chiefs fan?
Because I really like Alex Smith. When he was on the Niners, I really liked him, and then he became really not great on the Chiefs, but I was invested in the team by that point.
No,
That's when I first started watching football, when Alex Smith got traded to the Chiefs, and I just started following the team.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's fair.
Okay,
And it's been a blessing, to be honest.
I respect it. I really did think you were a
We're like
bandwagon.
Steelers and Giants fans.
Well, it's Giants are 7-5.
All right, let's get to the agenda.
All right, let's get to the show. Let's get to the show. I really enjoyed talking. Oh, sorry. I think my Wi-Fi just knocked out for. Okay, are you guys back?
We are, yes. We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's get back into the actual show because I do really enjoy talking about the Steelers. You guys are the first guests that actually really engaged me with my Steelers rant, so I'm happy about that. But okay, let's just get right into it. Enough Steelers talk. Okay. So I want to talk about the Jets right now. I know neither of you guys are Jets fans, but I think we're in New York. It makes sense to talk about the Jets. And more importantly, Zach Wilson was benched this week for Mike White. I mean, it kind of came as no surprise to me because after that atrocious game against the Patriots where they put up 3 points of offense and Zach Wilson took no responsibility in the post-game press conference, I thought that Robert Saleh had to do something to show he was a strong leader. So my question is, it's kind of seeming these days that Zach Wilson's tenure with the Jets is over. So I want to know what your opinion is. Do you think Zach Wilson will be QB1 next year for the Jets, or do you think it will be someone else?
So first of all, I think what really pushed him over the edge is the fact that he didn't take any responsibility when he was asked
100%.
to shut the defense down. First of all, I'm not a Jets fan, but I really do like their team. They did a really good job with their draft this year, and their defense is fantastic. And every piece in their offense, except for the quarterback position, is awesome as well. I mean, you have Garrett Wilson. If you're healthy, you have Breece Hall. I mean, you have so many guys that can make plays. And then you have Zach Wilson, who's throwing the ball 10 feet over Braxton Berrios' head on a screen pass. I mean, you just can't have that. So it's obvious he's going to get benched. He's definitely not mature enough to be a quarterback in this league anyways. But at the end of the day, I really see no world in which he starts for the Jets next year, especially not if Mike White keeps this up. But that's also – I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's easy to overreact to this after. I think it's easy to
Sad.
overreact after 1 week. One against one of the worst pass defenses in the league.
No,
I'm not even saying that.
never said
Yeah,
that
look,
Mike White was
look,
good.
look,
When did I say
let me
that?
finish my spiel. So,
Yeah, please let Zach talk.
the worst passing defenses in the league, playing backups. They've traded away many defensive leaders. Another defensive leader, defensive captain Eddie Jackson, was injured during the middle of the game. Mike White obviously was put in a great position to do really well, and I think Zach Wilson may have had his best game of the season had he played. With that being said, they now
How
have
can you just say you think he would have the best game of the season? He didn't even play.
I don't know. You can't say
because
that.
it was the worst.
I mean,
but let me
he's played
finish.
a ton of
But
bad
let me
defense.
finish. But let me finish.
Fine.
So, then he's got a tricky upcoming schedule. He's got a very tricky upcoming schedule. He gets the Bills next week. He gets the
I mean, they beat the Bills last
who does he get this week? It's the let me just.
Okay. The point
It's
is
a
false.
tough defense. With that said, it's a tough defense. I think it's definitely a hard
He
defense.
plays
it's a big
the
game.
Vikings.
Against the
who's
Vikings.
I mean,
A very
that's-
solid defense.
a solid defense.
I think
but
that the Jets are going to lose both those games. I don't think that's a bold take. I don't think it's certain, but I think they're likely to lose. At the same time, I think Mike White is a better quarterback than Zach Wilson right
So
now.
then, what was the point in that whole spiel?
Let him finish. Maybe
I
there's a
don't
point.
So,
Is there a point? Please tell me there's a point, Zach.
so I think that at some point in this season, we are going to see Zach Wilson get another opportunity.
Which
Do you
of
think he'll be the starting quarterback
You
next
don't know
year?
what's
though?
happening behind the scenes. You don't know what's happening behind the scenes. But I think that we're going to see him get another opportunity. And based on how he does on that opportunity, will determine how he does next year.
Okay.
I think that if the Jets lose their next 2 games, something will change. Saleh has continued to say it's week to week. And while a lot of people have been saying they're going to go back to Flacco, I don't think they're going to go back to Flacco.
I also
'cause
don't.
They will never go back to Flacco. No one's
Wilson still, they drafted him number 2 overall with the same regime that is now present there. Drafted him
over
over
Justin Fields.
number 2 over Justin Fields 1 year ago. You
going.
just
2 years,
can you think of
2 years ago.
2 seasons ago, this season and last season? How often do you see guys picked top 2 overall quarterbacks?
I think that is bad rationale, though. I think if a
No,
player is a
that's-
scrub,
what
if a player
goes
is a
into
scrub,
that
you shouldn't
position-
wait.
Rosen got one chance, but he was picked number 10. He wasn't picked, and then they had the number 1 pick. The Jets are going to have a low pick next year. Are they really going to start Mike White with the current team, or are they going to go for the upside of Zach Wilson? I think, obviously, you don't know about what the status is behind the scenes with the coaching, the locker room. Obviously, the locker room supports White, doesn't support Wilson. We'll see how that rattles out.
So here's my take on that. I agree. If you're drafting someone at the number 2 pick, obviously you're going to give him his time to shine. But Zach Wilson has played so atrociously in this year and last year.
Yes.
And he really has not shown any of those flashes that he showed in college of like nice touch, anything like that. I mean, you were talking about how he's played really good defenses this year. How? He played the Steelers.
Yeah, elaborate. Yeah.
He played the Steelers.
He had a good game against the Steelers.
He had his best game of the season against the
Steelers. He had 250 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks.
I was at that game.
That's bad. 2 picks
that
in a game.
That's what I'm saying. It was his best game.
The Jets won that game.
The Jets won that game because their team is
I'm well aware. Yeah. All right.
Look. If we're talking in White's time this season, he has played, besides the Steelers, he's played one bad defense, Miami, and he had a bad game against them. But other than that, he's played Buffalo, New England twice, and it's Bill Belichick against a young quarterback, Denver, and then Green Bay, who at that point had most of their team healthy. He's had a hard time.
I mean, if you're playing good defenses and you can't throw for more than 77
and they won those
yards,
and they won those games.
Guys.
What is that point? That makes no
sense.
sense.
It matters 0% how
they beat the Dolphins. They beat the Steelers. They beat the Broncos.
It does not matter how good your opposing defense is. If you can't throw a 10-yard screen pass, if you can't complete that as a professional NFL quarterback.
That's true.
I'm not saying Zach Wilson is a good quarterback. I'm saying that he's going to get another opportunity.
I think you're right. I think maybe he'll make 1 or 2 more starts this season because you don't want to move on for your number 2 overall.
I'm saying that I think
fair.
It's too early to write off a guy drafted number 2 overall.
But I think we're thinking too small about this. I think we're either saying Zach Wilson or Mike White next year.
Look at how few
that's a good point. That's a good point. If Zach Wilson plays another game so say Mike White loses one of the next 2 games really badly, and he just plays horrible. They're probably going to put Zach Wilson back in. If Zach Wilson plays bad,
and then they play Detroit.
I'm sorry, but hold on. If say at the end of the season, that's her point.
It's something
are you
bad.
Gonna pick up Garoppolo?
That's what I'm going to say. No, surely they're going to pick up Garoppolo because it just makes sense.
Depending on what he does.
All right, I'm not high on Garoppolo either, but
I'm not high on Garoppolo, but I think he's clearly better than Zach Wilson. And in my opinion, I think that the locker room just doesn't trust Wilson right now. And Garoppolo is a locker room guy. You know what I mean? Like, the locker room loves him. And having him on the roster for the 49ers this year was very lucky because of the Trey Lance injury. Next year, it's not going to be lucky. It's just going to be bad. They need to unite around Trey Lance. The ownership has made it clear that Trey Lance is their guy. They want everyone to love Trey Lance. And that's not going to happen with Garoppolo in the locker room. They're going to be they're going to
Jordan Love. What do you think?
What about Robert Saleh, though? Robert Saleh had time with the 49ers, and he was an assistant coach there. So I think it would make sense for him to be reunited. And their offenses are so similar. They're both run-heavy. They both have a lot of offensive weapons. By their offenses, I mean the Jets and the 49ers. So I think it would make sense schematically with
Saleh and Robert Saleh. You can't compare them. You can't.
It's not an offensive coach.
No, that's not what I was saying. I said they're offensive.
I get the point that they're both run-based offenses, but at the same time, like, Kyle Shanahan's like an offensive mastermind, and Robert Saleh.
I'm not comparing.
What she's trying to say is that they're the same scheme.
They're the same scheme, and I'm saying Robert Saleh used to be a part of, like, Robert Saleh and Garoppolo used to work, like, they had.
Mike LaFleur is the offensive coordinator of the Jets.
I don't think that the Jets are a run-heavy offense because their running backs are so good.
It's not about run-heavy. It's about being a West Coast Shanahan offense. Is what she means.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, I mean schematically and not like actually like they're running.
Okay. I understand that, but I'm just saying I don't think they will be if they get a better.
I think we move on from this, honestly. I think we have to move on from the Mike White discussion. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm having the most fun doing this show that I've had on any of the other ones. It's definitely less stuffy than all the other ones. That's all I'd have to say. But okay. Let's move on to some of my favorite segment, actually, which is Stardom Situms. So I know that I love fantasy football, but I'm a person enough to recognize that I'm not very good at it. But I know you guys also love fantasy football and are definitely better at it than I am. So why don't you guys give me one player that all of our viewers need to start this week if they want to win their fantasy matchup? So Zach, Rahul, who's ever ready, give me your first start.
So my first start is Brandon Ayuk. I watched the game with the 49ers against the Saints last time, and I know that there's a lot of worries with how many targets he's getting, with how many weapons.
Do you see that drop in the end zone? Brandon Ayuk drop?
With the drop in the end zone. But I watched the game. He got a lot of targets. He had a lot of opportunity. They're going into a game against the Dolphins that I think is going to be a very high-scoring game, one of the worst defenses in the league, Dolphins. There's going to be a lot of going around, and I think a lot more of it than people think is going to go to Ayuk, because Ayuk is the number one weapon on their team in the pure passing game.
That's fair.
Whereas, while Deebo Samuel is probably still the number one receiver on the team, Ayuk gets a lot of passing game, and therefore he's my start of the week.
I respect that. I think that's a good pick, especially that they're playing Miami this week. We've seen that their defense has been subpar, so it would be a good start. All right, Ayuk. Note that, viewers. Okay, yeah, Rahul, give me your stardom.
First of all, I appreciate saying that I'm good at fantasy football. I've been receiving a lot of hate this year because I more
meant that at Zach, by the way. I've heard the stories of your atrocious fantasy football.
All right, moving on. So my start of the week is going to be Christian Kirk. I've received a lot of hate for starting him consistently this year, but he's the clear wide receiver one, no matter how well Zay Jones.
Who wouldn't start Christian Kirk this week?
You, because you've made it. I mean, you just have who are your wide receivers?
Because my wide receivers are Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, and
Is
Tyreek Hill.
Chase playing?
He's to play.
He's not. He's not playing. And
so maybe you do start Christian Kirk.
Wait, let me explain. So Christian Kirk, even with a terrible week last week of getting 4 receptions for 40 yards, he still had 8 targets in a game where Trevor Lawrence threw the ball like what felt like 100 times to Zay Jones, who got a touchdown, a 2-point conversion, won them the game. Everything's felt like it was going to Zay Jones, and yet Christian Kirk still got 8 targets, and you were making the point that Brandon Ayuk is the number one target in San Francisco. He also got 8 targets. So now they're going to play the Lions, which are a pretty awful defense, and you have Trevor Lawrence stepping into his bag, threw for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think Christian Kirk's going to go off.
Yep, I think that's a very solid start. I like both of your picks. Let's move on to sit-ems, though, because I find those more fun. There's more passion in those. So who are we sitting this week, guys?
I'll go first. My sit-em for this week is a little bit more bold than any of the picks I think we've seen so far. I'm going to say to sit Dameon Pierce. I wouldn't start him even over a guy like Kyren Williams of the Rams.
No.
Because
you have to explain this pick.
I think that he's just not a starting caliber running back.
Neither is Kyren Williams.
I
almost made my sit Kyren Williams.
I don't think Kyren Williams is going to do that good, but I think he's going to have a better week than Dameon Pierce this week, just because Pierce his snap count's been going lower and lower as they've been getting killed in games, and they put receiving based running backs in the game like Dare Ogunbowale and Rex Burkhead in the game. He's been getting snap counts near 60%. His touches have been going down. In order for Dameon Pierce to have a good game, the Texans need to be competitive. And while they play one of the worst run defenses in the league this week, which might give people some hope, they play the Browns.
Yeah.
The game's not going to be competitive. And he doesn't have a chance of having a good week if the game's not competitive. He needs a touchdown. If he gets a touchdown, he could have a good week. But touchdown or bust. I wouldn't start him over Jamal Williams. I wouldn't start him over Kyren Williams.
What about Najee?
I agree with you here.
Najee?
Najee, I don't think Najee's going to play.
What if Najee plays?
If Najee plays, I'd start him over Dameon Pierce as well.
Okay, I agree. I think that Dameon Pierce is falling off a little bit. And I saw this take that they're saying that he's a try-hard and that he's not that good. But I mean, obviously he's amazing at actual football, but maybe not the best producer in fantasy. With that being said, Kyren Williams is not going to produce on the Rams at all, and I hate the fact that people are saying that he's going to be good.
Look,
because if Cam Akers is getting 20, what is he getting recently? 15 carries?
A lot of carries, yeah.
And he's putting up 40 yards.
So can I respond?
Sure.
I want to say with Dameon Pierce and Kyren Williams last week, he had how many receptions? He had 5 or 6 receptions, whereas Dameon Pierce has been averaging routinely 1, 2, 0 receptions. Just on that, the only way I can see Dameon Pierce having a better game than Kyren Williams is if he scores a touchdown.
Kyron Williams had
It's as simple as that.
had 11 rushes for 35 yards, and you're gonna start him?
How many
that's just-
rushes did Damian Pierce
That's
have?
ridiculous.
Look him up.
That's just
Look up.
terrible.
I'm not starting.
Why do we have to start either of them? Why do we have to start one of them?
Come on.
They
All right,
both are
anyway.
not-
My sit-em this week, it's really hard for me to say, and I've been really riding high on this running back the whole season, but I'm going to have
Is
to say
it
Pacheco.
CH?
Oh,
Is
you
it
just make boring
CH?
picks.
Who'd you say?
CH is on IR.
Who'd you
CH is
say?
horrible. I
CH
said
is not.
Pacheco.
It's not.
Silence. I said
Who did you
Pacheco.
say?
I
Oh,
said
okay.
Pacheco.
Okay.
So, first of all, I think he's a great player for the Chiefs in real football, but in fantasy, not really a part of the passing game. He got a touchdown last week. He looked really good. He put up 16 points. I still wouldn't start him just because, I mean, you have Mahomes throwing the ball 40 times. I don't see a world in which you should start a Chiefs running back. He's a good option if you have someone on bye, but it's disappointing for me to say that we don't have someone like Jamal Charles like we once did, but I really don't. I don't see a world in which you start a Chiefs running back.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very solid take. I don't have too many strong emotions on that one. Like it's just fair. It's fair. All right, what do you think, Zach? Anything?
I think that if you're starting Pacheco, you're 2-10. So
That's fair. Someone like me in fantasy.
Lily, why don't I read you my team really quickly, and you tell me if it's actually as bad as 2-10.
And then
all right?
I'll read you my team. Which
No,
is
nobody cares about your team.
No,
We can-
let's just read rules because I know Zach's is good.
All right. Okay. I want to hear your opinion on each player. Okay. Geno Smith,
Fantastic.
fantastic. Leads. Do you know he leads the NFC in Pro Bowl votes for quarterback?
It's absurd.
They
Okay.
wrote him
up.
off. They wrote him off.
Yeah, right
Who
back
else
up.
would- Okay, yeah.
All right. Then we got at running back 1, we have ETN,
Very solid. Very solid.
Used to be on my team.
and you traded him away for a bag of chips.
I
Saquon-
remember that.
It's Saquon Barkley. How do I remember that?
What?
What?
Yes,
I said I said I remember that trade. What?
Oh, all right.
Sorry.
Okay.
It's
Sorry.
the Wi-Fi.
Sorry. Yeah. Wi-Fi.
All right. Thoughts on ETN, Zachary?
Fair. Yeah, good.
Zachary,
that-
What? Did you
What
see
What is
that?
that?
You see, I'm getting tucked.
Do you hear that noise?
it's a World
'Cause I'm
Cup
so
news.
popular,
Anyways,
yeah.
okay.
Oh.
Then we got Najee, who I just traded for. I'm really liking Najee.
Bro, I'm a Steelers fan, and I drafted Najee in 3 of my 4 leagues.
Can I just
Why
explain?
would you trade for Najee Harris?
Okay,
he
can I-
shared his
okay,
teams
let
with
me explain
Jalen
this.
Warren, Anthony McFarland, and this is ridiculous. This is
Let me
ridiculous. Benny
explain the
Snell,
situation.
and Benny Snell.
Really. Let me explain the situation I was in. Okay, so I'm 2-10 right now. Hamilton
know.
is also 2-10. The loser of the Week 14 game, which we play, me and Hamilton play each other.
Yeah.
The loser has to
Yeah.
run a half marathon, a New York City half marathon. They have to
Keep
pay
in mind that
and put on
theoretically
the
one of them could
pins,
win this week.
and then they have to run. Okay,
Right.
Yeah.
and
Yes.
I just made a brutal mistake of trading for David Montgomery.
who
has a-
happens to be on bye week 14.
So he has a bye Week 14.
Why would you not look up his buy before you traded for him?
Can we move on? That's not the point of this. That's not the point of my discussion right now. So
Okay.
naturally, Dave Montgomery has no value for me since he's going on bye Week 14.
Of
And
course.
I actually happen to think that Najee's it's on the up. So
Okay.
I traded Dave Montgomery for Najee Harris, who's been really good the last 3 weeks. If it wasn't
You
for
know
this
why
injury.
he's been really
And
good?
hold on,
You know why he's been really
be
good?
silent for a second. Why?
Wait, did you say Najee's been?
He's been healthy.
Jalen Warren still isn't healthy.
No,
No,
he's-
but Anthony McFarland and Benny Snell put up a decent running game against the Colts.
yeah,
So it
Anthony
doesn't matter
McFarland
if
and
Jalen
Benny
Warren's healthy.
Snell
Who
really
is that?
outplayed him.
Who
Yeah,
is
that's
that?
what I'm saying.
You know who Ant Mack is?
All that randos. Anthony McFarland, former 4th-round running back from Maryland, and Benny Snell,
Benny Snell.
and
Imagine not knowing who Anthony McFarland and Benny Snell.
and Benny Snell. I don't know where he went to college or when he was drafted, but it's not.
It's absurd. Okay, can I just
Okay,
read you?
okay.
Najee-
Read
that's
me
the
the
last-
rest quickly, okay? We're taking a while.
Okay, all right. But
Yeah,
point
one
is,
of the times
Najee's
gotta
been
do
really
that.
good the last 3 weeks. Then I got Christian Kirk. Agree that he's a start. Then we got Mike Evans. No doubt, I'm still pretty high on him. He got two receptions last week, but he still had 9 targets. I mean, he's gonna start to catch them. He's an elite
No,
receiver.
he's okay.
He's an elite receiver.
Be silent when I speak.
Mike
Cole
Evans.
Kmet. We got Cole Kmet with Justin Fields back. Oh,
That's-
he's gonna go crazy, you know. I mean, you
It's
saw that
solid.
one-handed catch. It's incredible.
He's so good.
Sure.
Juju
Sorry,
Smith-Schuster recovering from concussion last week, so he didn't have
Oh,
a great.
Juju. My favorite. Wait,
Also-
no, for fantasy Juju,
All right. Oh,
dude, bro,
You know
Juju's
what?
never
Know
been a
who he
fantasy.
traded for? You want to know who he
You
traded
know
for?
what? You know when the last time Juju was good in fantasy was when Antonio Brown was on the Steelers and not getting a warrant out for his arrest.
Oh,
So
how did this-
Was it not weeks 6 through 9 when he put up 22, 25, and 18?
Oh,
fine. That's fair.
All right.
That's
And
fair.
then we got the Minnesota defense and Harrison Bucker. I mean, I'm pretty happy.
I like Harrison Bucker. That's a solid kicker
All
for
right, I
us.
think we should move on in the show.
Okay.
I think we should move on. Okay. So we're just gonna talk very briefly because we've had a lot of banter on the show, so it's a bit longer than all the other ones, but that's great. I'm happy with that. Okay. So I just want to ask you guys really quickly. I've been noticing, at least recently, that there are a lot of coaching performances that have been, really overwhelming this year. Like, wow, they've performed a lot better than I thought, or extremely underwhelming. And then you have Jeff Saturday, which doesn't really fit into any of those categories. But I want to know if you guys have any coaches that you want to share your reactions to their performances this season.
Okay. So I knew this question coming into the show. I'm going to go with Doug Peterson. I don't know if he fits underrated or overrated, but I would say he's definitely underappreciated. When the
Yes.
Jags signed Doug Peterson, they knew how offensive minded he
I
is.
hate Doug
They
Peterson.
know how aggressive, and I actually
Of course, you hate Doug Peterson.
It's not because of
I'm a fan.
he's super over aggressive, but
Okay.
I mean, you know that going into it. If you're on the 45-yard line, on your own 45-yard line, it's 4th and 2. You're going for it.
Over-aggression is only
And that's-
bad when you're
and
losing.
And then
Yeah.
when you're down 1 and you just scored a touchdown, 0 seconds left, you're going to go for 2. And that's just how the Jags work. And it paid off. And the only reason they've been really bad, and you could
They've
attribute
been
this,
unlucky. They've been unlucky.
it's because they're not executing in the
They're
crunch time. And you can't blame Doug Peterson for that.
Right. They don't have as much. If they had more talent, then Doug Peterson obviously would be doing better. But his job as a coach,
Yeah,
They've
I
been
don't know if
Playing
it's
really
talent.
well. They have a great point
They
differential. They
keep losing
grade
by,
out
like,
really well in a lot of
their
areas.
record is worse than they are as a team, I would say, like significantly. But
I don't know any of it.
Who's your,
I want to say about Doug Peterson that I don't like him because he put Nate
Okay, that's
Sudfeld in
not
the
the
game
question.
instead of Jalen Hurts when a loss for the Eagles.
when they
Eagles
tanked,
won.
I remember that.
That was
Okay.
the worst moment of my life. Top
That
top
was
10
unfortunate.
worst
But the
ever.
Giants should have just been better. I mean, did you really want them to make the playoffs 2 games below 500 and then get absolutely destroyed?
mauled. They would have gotten mauled.
They would have gotten destroyed worse than like Steelers Chiefs last
Yeah,
year.
well, Washington nearly beat the Bucks. I want to put it out there, but either way, and then the Bucks ended up winning the Super Bowl, which they wouldn't have because the Giants are Tom Brady's father. But my coach, for example, there we go on that subject. My coach is the head of the Giants. It's Brian Dable. I think that
Woo,
Giants are one of the least talented teams in the league.
I love it.
What? I think
I think-
that
One of the least talented. I'd say they're like average.
I wouldn't say that.
How?
I'd say that the Giants
Saquon's
have
the best
I'd
most talented running back in the league right now.
running backs the least important position on the field. I'd say compared to the Jaguars, I grade the Jaguars ahead of the Giants at
Mhm.
wide receiver, offensive line, tight end, quarterback, not running back, but
You think? Okay.
and then
sure.
I don't know much about the Jaguars defense, but definitely the Giants don't have much talent. I think Dable's done a phenomenal job leading them. Obviously,
That's
they've
true.
had some struggles in recent weeks. After starting 7-2, they're now 7-4. Big game coming up against the Commanders. I'll be there, obviously.
Oh, nice.
They're gonna lose.
Big game coming up. I think Dable's going to put the team in the position to win as he's done all year. And like Peterson, he's been aggressive. He's in key situations. They went for 2 in week 1 against the Titans, got a big upset win. I just think that the Giants wouldn't be doing it without him, and I'm excited to see what he can do when he finally gets, a
They
real
definitely
roster.
found their guy. I'll give you that.
When they get a real roster, they're going to go off.
Franchise coach.
When they get
for
number
sure.
1 receiver next year.
Wow.
OBJ.
I completely agree. I mean, if
I
you
don't want OBJ anymore.
if you've watched any of the other episodes, you know I love Brian Dable. I think he is a major, like pretty much one of the main reasons for the Giants' success this year, like without a doubt. And then Daniel Jones's lack of turnovers at the beginning of the season was also a main reason. But yeah, I would say that
Look at Daniel Jones. I have a lot of opinions on Daniel Jones because
on Daniel Jones, maybe we should get you guys should be a returning guest and talk more because I feel like you guys are really good at this. What do you think? I'm putting you on the spot here.
we're definitely down.
We're down.
But I just want to talk about Daniel Jones first because it's way more important.
Okay.
Good job.
Okay. So
For sure.
I think unfortunately our time, you guys' time on the show is ending, and I'm gonna do some last minute with Lily.
There you
All
go.
right.
We're excited.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Stay tuned. You can stay in the bottom on the box to listen to. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Zach and Rahul. They were fantastic guests. This was great. So I'm about to do some last minute with Lily action. Let me put up my timer. And just be prepared. I have a lot of really atrocious jokes. So, okay. 60 seconds starting now. Okay. USA beat Iran in the World Cup to advance to the knockout round in a lovely game of soccer. It's called soccer, not football. The Colts lost to my Steelers on Monday. If they would have played on Saturday, Jeff and his team definitely would have won. You get it? Like Jeff Saturday. Christian Pulisic, who scored the only goal in America's win, left everything out on the field, including the lives of his future kids. That was a nasty hit. Did you see that? That was a very bad spot to get hit. A warrant is currently out for Antonio Brown's arrest for domestic violence. And any of the jokes I can make about that are too politically incorrect, so I'm not going to do that. Deshaun Watson is now back on the roster and will start in this week's game with the Browns. And again, that joke is very politically incorrect, so I cannot make that as well. All right, and that is 60. Okay, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you to Zach and Rahul. This was a great show, and I really hope they'll join us again sometime. Make sure to vote them when I start the Instagram poll for best guest who should be on the finale. Make sure to vote them if you think they were the best. All right, bye, guys. Have a good week.